Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Om. Salutations to Bhagwan Ramakrishna. Beyond illusions. This talk will be mainly based on Advaita Vedanta, and we'll go through it slowly. Otherwise, the talk might appear kind of illusory. Yes, we've all seen the sunsets. It's never failed to affect us positively. It's beautiful. And it's evening now. We see the sun set. Firstly, there is no such thing as a setting sun. Sun does not set. It's the structure of our solar system that makes us see the sunset. Secondly, the size of the sun, if you notice it, as it is setting, appears larger. That's because we are subconsciously visualizing certain points in the terrain or the horizon itself, and you're using that as reference, visual reference points. And that makes the sun appear larger. And of course, the water vapor and the dust reflects and refracts light, and so you get a kind of a reddish color. See the same sun when it's overhead. The size is much smaller. Does it expand and contract? No. We are seeing something which is real, unreal. So, these perceptions, illusory perceptions, are never willed. You cannot will, I want to see an illusion. And besides, it really enhances you can say, a visual experience. It's not hallucination, not absent-mindedness, not, as you call, petit mal, that is, a mild form of epilepsy. It's nothing to do with any visual or kind of psychological defect. It's perceived by everyone. So we come to study these phenomena through science, which is, it has eradicated a lot of misconceptions about what we see. Besides, philosophically, these illusions have been studied by hardcore realists to the Buddhist Shunyavadins, nihilists, when they want to know the nature of this external world that's independent of the senses. Either the external world and our senses is giving rise to these perceptions, or whether there's any other factor than these two. But every illusion, it's never kind of hallucinations, they don't have any kind of substratum. Illusions always have a real sensory stimulus from outside. So we have these experiences, and I'll go through a few of them. I remember once when I was in India and I was sitting down in a train. It was summer, it was hot, and we need to open the windows. The second class coaches, they don't come with air conditioning, so we had to came open the window. And it was dark, and there was a young child who was playing with her toys, and she let out such a yell because the toy was broken. And it was terrible. And she kept on crying, not crying, yelling. And we were all, you can say, ears to her, yelling. We even, that sound masked all other trains, sounds. That is, in the train, you got plenty of sounds, and even the sound of the wheels. And it stopped somewhere in the middle of a kind of a field. And I was trying to look outside, and then there was another train passing by on a parallel track. And our train was stationary. And then as that train passed, suddenly I felt like, oh, our train has started. But after it has passed, with all the Doppler effect and all these things, I found the train hasn't moved an inch. What I experienced was an illusion. And then I looked up the sky, and then the moon racing. I said, yes, the moon does not race. It's the clouds that are racing. They're giving the illusion of the moon racing. And the sylvan landscape rushing past me. I was saying, wow, this is kind of this cutting through all my perceptions. And that child was given another toy by the mother, and then she stops wailing, and the silence was, we luxuriated in that silence. But that itself was an illusion. There were so many other sounds coming, but then we experienced that illusion. So I kept on thinking, is this our sensory experience? That it's a kind of a mixture of reality and reality. What then is real? And why do we give so much emphasis on this reality? Yes, this is real, this is real. It might be half illusion. Who knows? Or the whole thing might be an illusion. The mind itself might be an illusion. So we'll go down gradually towards this subject, which the Vedantists especially, they studied it because the Buddhists studied it deeply. And to counter all the arguments, they had to go through these various, you can say, dialectics. They had to counter them. So when we see a picture, a painting, we have an artist here. And it's a two-dimensional object, but we see it as a three-dimensional. The painting is a kind of three-dimensional. Now, is it the artist's illusion? She's created an illusion? Or are we seeing a two-dimensional object as a three-dimensional with depth? There are people who study the illusions professionally. They, of course, they study it like when you talk about magicians or illusionists. They do it to entertain us. We can see that it's not possible for that saw to cut through that person lying on the table. But we are actually seeing this thing. At the same time, we know it cannot be real, but we, at that moment, we are caught up in that. Wow! And then we are so relieved. Oh, when the pieces are joined together, somehow, illusion has taken over our common sense, or you can say intelligence. What is actually been seen? Even if a writer writes a beautiful novel, it's a kind of an illusion. It might be a figment of his or her imagination, and we are caught up in that, and that book becomes a kind of a bestseller. Imagine. Movies are one form of illusion. So, if everything we do, like suppose I lift quite a heavy weight, and then after that lift another lighter weight. The second weight seems almost, you can say, like a featherweight. That itself is an illusion. It's not just limited to our visual sense. Even this visual sense, it's an amazing phenomenon. Nobody really knows how we perceive. Like stimulus energy comes inside, fine, okay. And then there's a kind of inverted image here on the retina. And then there's the dedicated nerves called optic nerves, taking it back to the head of the back of the head. And there are 40 brain centers all engaged in trying to perceive the object here and now outside, spatially, temporally, and color. There's no color, there's a rod and cone cells in my eyes, in all eyes. And this stimulus energy has been interpreted as color. Amazing. Now, what is actually out there? Am I seeing you all out there, or am I seeing you all here in my mind? Because you need senses and you need mind to perceive. Where exactly am I perceiving you? Out or in? That is a big philosophical conundrum. And it has not been decided that there are hardcore realists who say, yes, there's something outside. The idealists say, no, you see it all in the mind. And this has been the kind of a fight between the realist and the idealist for the last 2,000 years. Yeah, even Plato says that there is an ideal realm where there are perfect forms. And we can get a kind of a slight, you can say, hint of that. That's the reason we try to strive for perfection. We may see a perfect sphere, but yet, no, it's not perfectly spherical. We could improve on it, and we keep on improving, trying to improve things. Where is this idea of perfection coming? Yeah, there's a realm of perfection out there. It's not here, it's there somewhere. Where? So this realism and idealism, there are some who go halfway, It's like matter throws its shadow on the mind, and the mind throws its shadow on the matter, and then we have something called a mixture of mind and matter. So here we are. Science, in fact, science, we want to know what's real out there. And because of that, our senses have been so fine-tuned to perceive it. In fact, we are more perceiving beings than thinking beings. Thinking comes much later. Man is a thinking being. No, all our actions are first through the muscles, through the body. We perceive, and then we try to kind of bridge these kind of loose ends, trying to them together. We are actually seeing things, seeing and hearing and tasting and touching. So here we are in this kind of world, whether it's real or unreal, we do not know. Yes. At the same time, you cannot say we do not know. How can that be? Yeah, we are standing right there between knowledge and ignorance, rather, or non-knowledge. Okay. So we have humanity trying to search this, and we've been building instruments to peer deeply. We have electron microscopes and this and that, and nobody has really seen what an electron is. But yet we have microscopes, and yeah, we can see, but an atom, What's an atom? It's somewhere the proton and neutron is here, and the electron is somewhere moving around there, somewhere on the freeway there, moving. This kind of, it's empty space within the atom, and yet it's giving rise to something called solid objects. This whole universe, they say, is just a fraction of visible matter. There was a book, I don't know, it is 96%, the 4% universe. I think the 4% or 6% universe. That visible matter is only 4%. And what about the rest? It's all dark matter and dark energy. Huh. You mean to say that we are living just a 4% life? It's sometimes frightening. So, and we've been trying to build telescopes and Hubble telescopes and Chandra X-rays and this and that. We need to use our senses. At the same time, we find that sensory deprivation can lead to some weird ideas. You start hallucinating. People put in a kind of a dark room or something like that for a couple of days, and that guy sees ghosts and goblins and and the works. And that person takes these things for real. So we are caught between the sensory deprivation and the senses which are deluding us. Now comes this problem of illusions. We know that we emit electromagnetism and we also absorb electromagnetism. And this world is a kind of interaction between this external and internal. On the ultimate analysis, there's no such thing as external and internal. But the brain is simply swarmed by the amount of data coming in. So the brain only works selectively. It takes just a fraction of what comes in and interprets it. And studies have shown it will only take in those things which are essential for survival of the organism. Now you have a huge amount of data coming in. So part of it is flowing out, and the brain just interprets a slice of that spectrum. And what is real? Are we seeing the whole thing, or we are seeing just a fraction of what is outside? It's obvious we have dogs with a hyper sense of smell. We have certain birds and animals with tremendous, you can say, they can see in infrared. We don't see all these things. So even though evolution has fine-tuned our sensories and nervous system, yet they are woefully inadequate for us to understand reality. Even our senses are limited. So in this, we create our own world. Yeah. As the stimulus energy comes in, we cannot perceive anything outside until unless we have perceived it before. So perception is really a recognition. You recognize an object because this thing is giving rise to another memory in my mind, and both coalesce. And if I don't see a kind of a correlation between my old knowledge and what I see outside, that's a state of, you can say, the mind works on that sankalpa vikalpa. They come doubts. The mind gets a little, you can say, it moves around the object and tries to pick up some old memories of what I've seen. The idea is the mind contributes its own data to what comes in. So if my past cognitions were wrong and something that's coming out and I'm joining both of them together, it's of course subconscious done. Then I'm living in a kind of a fool's world. I might be totally deluded of what I think is I'm seeing or what is the reality outside. So here we are. We have seen mirage. And Swami Vivekananda at one time, he was walking down the coast of Gujarat. That's more like a kind of a semi-desert area. And one day he was thirsty and he walked towards those beautiful lakes and trees and they disappeared. Oh, this is what I've heard of mirages. He returns back. The next day the mirage once again appears, but now he knew that it's a mirage. You immerse a stick in a body of water and the stick appears bent. You take a firebrand and whirl it, you see a kind of a circle. And n number of examples are there. One thing is there, that knowledge and perception are kind of different. We know sticks don't bend when immersed in water. Yeah. How can it be? And mirages are unreal. There are some mirages. They say in scripture they talk about Gandharva Nagari. That is, sometimes the whole cities are seen floating in the air sometimes, and they are called Gandharva. Gandharva are you can say group of semi-celestial beings. They love music and when you see something like this, and then you might be, oh, you see, that's the Gandharva. You see, can you hear the music? And you might even think, yeah, I'm listening to that music. So it's a Gandharva Nagari. And these mirages, yes, but once you have the knowledge, this is a mirage, it no longer deludes you. Simple as that. We are seeing this world, there's no color outside, yet we are seeing color. But knowledge will bring us that firm conviction, what I am seeing outside is different from what I know. I see a kind of driving down the road, you see the road is wet. It's a mirage. It's a hot surface, and then you have a hot layer of air, and above that is cold air, and then you have this refraction within these layers of air. Once again, when you look at rail tracks, and you see from the distance they converge, yeah, you know that rail tracks cannot converge. It will create all the problems in life. But we see it, but we know it does not converge. What am I seeing then? You're saying, yeah, your senses are limited, and then So studies in optics and electromagnetism and physics and all this has eradicated a lot of misconceptions regarding this external world, it's a good thing. And we have been struggling for this. For the last thousands and thousands of years, we've been struggling. What exactly is this? We know that the earth is round, and yet we see, and of course there are people still who think that the earth is flat. The flat earthers. Amazing! Even after all the scientific data, all the pictures, everything, that is an illusion, they say. Huh, amazing. So, of course, that's another extreme. How could people even believe these things, that there is something called a flat earth here? This is the world of Maya. Then, you see, we are just talking about a visual apparatus. There's something called synesthesia also. When a musician will, if you play a note, you might see color. Or certain words give a different kind of color. Or a music, something like that. Illusions are transsensory. They're not just limited to this, to the, you can say, the visual apparatus, everything. In fact, there is something called a mirror illusion. You look at yourself in the mirror and touch yourself, and you feel that image in the mirror also touching itself, and you feel that touch. That fellow feels that touch. It's called a pseudo, you can say, hallucination. It's an illusion, a type of illusion. You think, what? You try it out. Oh, these Vedantins, they went through this whole process of trying to understand these transsensory, you can say, illusions. And where exactly is the reality? So, to come down to the main point, first is our senses are limited. Okay? Then the sensory stimulus that comes in is, cut to a kind of a manageable, you can say, extent in order to read it. Otherwise, the whole thing will become, the brain will be overwhelmed with this. It will, in fact, it will not be able to save one, if it is constantly bombarded with this. Then the mind also contributes to the perception. In Vedanta, it's called, the mind contributes its own data to that. It's called jnana-dhyasa. And the stimulus energy that comes in from an object, it's called artha-dhyasa. That's the objective, you can say, distortion. And we know that with all this, we are trying to understand what is the reality out there. When we see, we have this whole universe is kind of visible and solid. We can see, you can smell, and we can taste, and we can touch. But just beneath this world is a kind of a field, energy field, or you can say the field of what is a quantum field. It's, formless. Things are popping out, staying for a while, and merging back in. Things emerge and merge. That is called a kind of a chaos, and this is called order. But is it? That could be order, and this could be chaos. Or if you could call that an illusion. So is illusion giving rise to what we understand as reality? Or if we switch over, is this reality giving rise to something which is called an illusion? Is it an illusion that makes us feel that we are seeing the real? There is something that one order of existence is completely nullified on a different level. And there's no strict cause and effect between these two. Like this form has emerged from that amount of energy that has popped up. Nothing. That remains as it is. He does not bother about what forms it pops up. So this whole universe, if seen a little deeply, is kind of order and chaos, both whirling together. Order is giving rise to chaos, chaos is giving rise to order, and somewhere in the middle we are both we are squeezed. That's a nice. Swamiji tries to explain things. When we perceive something, it's like we are trying to, like a pearl oyster. A pearl, a kind of a irritant or grain of sand gets in, and the oyster throws its enameling around it. So this universe throws in the stimulus energy, and we react. And when we react, how do we react? With a portion of our own minds. What is outside, Swami Vivekananda says, is X. X is unknown and unknowable. And when I react to something coming from outside, every perception and this world for me is X plus mind. The unknown or unknowable and my mind makes up every perception. There we are. He says that this mind element is so great, it covers the whole of that X. So when we try to know something, we know our own minds. Yes. It's like that pearl oyster. It's a kind of a pearl. It's small irritant there, but the pearl is a big thing, It's a kind of a nice shiny one. Slowly it has thrown its enameling around that irritant. So this world is something like this. So the external world throws in its stimulus energy, tries to hit kind of a blow, and we react. And when we react, is X plus mind is the world for us. And when we want to know the internal world, there's the same problem. He says the Y plus mind is the internal world. Even that internal world is unknown and unknowable. So these X and Y are two factors which are unknown and unknowable, and we have the mind in the middle. So what we always know is nothing but the mind. Period. There. So we have heard that there is the Atman inside. Oh really? You've heard. The mind has heard. And now it's projecting. We are trying to get down to something called projection or superimposition. What in Advaita Vedanta is called adhyasa. Like, there's a lazy worker and he's hearing some snatches of conversation from his boss. And then he hears a word, which says fired. And that person, all his fears and anxiety and hate and everything is projected on that boss. Yeah. That guy says nothing but shout. And here he says, you're fired? But the boss had said, I'm tired. So this guy. So all our fears and our doubts and all our emotions, we project it outside. It's always done. We project it outside. And this is one of the pillars of Advaita Vedanta, this superimposition. And if you wants to understand Advaita Vedanta, one has to understand the superimposition. Swami Vivekananda gives an example of, in the dark, a policeman sees there's a thief there. And the thief nearby saying, oh, that's a policeman. A child who has been told ghost stories shrieks, and the ghost. A young girl is waiting for a beloved, and he's saying, there. And the boy is waiting for the girl, he's saying, she's come. We are just projecting. And when we bring in the light, we find that it is the stump of tree. We project all our desires and everything outside. So that's why in Vedanta said, Purusho va sthano va. Is it a stump of a tree or it's a person there? We are projecting according to what we have within us, and that this is called superimposition. So there is something, an external, you can say object, X, which comes in, my mind projects something, and both are joined, and the third entity arises. So the X, my mind, and something third. In Vedanta it said, yes, in the dark you see oil, it's twilight, and then you find that, oh God, there's a snake out there. You bring in the light and find it's a rope. So one thing is appearing as another. Here we are. That's what Vedanta says. One thing is appearing as another. What is that one thing? In Advaita Vedanta, there are three orders of existence. One is the supreme, or the paramarthika, that is the reality as it is, as it has been spoken of by the sages. Okay, that's Brahman, that's reality. The second order of reality is the Vyavharika, this relative world. And the third order of reality, they say, is a Pratibhasika, appearance. Brahman appears as the world, and the world appears illusory. So reality becomes unreality. Reality, the unreality which we see, becomes reality. The whole thing is a kind of, it's not graded, This is the paramarthika, or the relative, or the, you can say, appearance, pratibhasika. They are all kind of blended together. And we are seeing something, and we are taking that reality for unreality, and the unreality for the reality. There we are. And that is what Vedanta says. People say, have you seen God? So why you want to ask such immature questions? Scripturally, we can prove that God exists, but we cannot prove that this world exists. So we take that approach. We dismiss this world as, what are you seeing? Really? So God can be proved that God exists, and the world cannot be proved that the world exists. Maybe it exists in my mind, or at this point of time, it never existed like this in the past, nor will it exist like this in the future. So what is kind of temporary or kind of appearance is not the reality. Secondly, everything is kind of transforming, is changing. Reality cannot be changing. Otherwise, who wants such a reality? We want something solid, stable, and permanent, and eternal, and infinite. So, we are seeing what? Reality or unreality? Yes. Swamiji, I'll read a part of a quotation that Swamiji has given. We are all traveling in this mirage of the world, not knowing it is a mirage. One day it will break up, and it will come again. Yeah, it will come again. So, he says that we do not know anything about this universe. At the same time, we cannot say that we don't know Absolutely. We know, we do not know. And this is the standing between knowledge and ignorance, this twilight, mystic twilight. And we are saints in this Maya, and sinners in this Maya, we are gods in this Maya, philosophers in this Maya, everything. And this is where we need to take our stand. When we try to understand reality, we need to take a stand on the borderline between what we know and what we do not know. If we stand on the known, you'll never be able to explore the limits of knowledge. And if you stand on the unknown, you'll always be in the dark. So we need to situate ourselves on the border between what is known and what is unknown, and push the barriers of the unknown. So this is our lives. Illusion, real. Vedanta says everything is illusion. No, not everything. Like the Buddhists say everything is an illusion. Everything. Vedanta says, no, within that illusion is the real. Try to catch it. And somewhere deep down, there is a kind of intuitive knowledge about this reality. It's not totally unknown. We have a vague sense of knowledge. Because when you have to see a snake, you need to have a substratum. You need to have a rope or a old branch of a tree or something like that. You need to have a substratum. To see an illusion, you need to have some reality behind it. And that's why Vedanta dismissed of all these Shunyavadins and Vijnanavadins, that is the higher Buddhistic schools of momentary consciousness and, void. I'm saying within this there is a reality. And that reality shines in one's own heart. At one point of time, as we situate ourselves on that border line between knowledge and ignorance, or non-knowledge, somewhere we will keep on pushing. And as we keep on pushing, that reality, which is always self-luminous, will shine. That's the reason why Shankaracharya, Hridi Kalayati Vidvan, Brahma Purnam. That reality shines in Hridi, in the heart of all beings. And it can be intuited perfectly in the state of perfect concentration. Once we know that this is a kind of a mirage, a kind of illusion, I won't get deluded. I have a knowledge that this, I will keep on experiencing. Swami Vivekananda says, this illusion will break one day. This mirage will break. But it will appear. But the poison will be lost. We will know the sharp distinction between reality and the mirage or the illusion. And it will never delude us anymore. Never. So we had started with the idea of the setting sun. The sun, beautiful, setting sun. You keep on meditating on that, and it's such a calming effect on the mind, even though it's an illusion. At the other extreme, like in the Isha Upanishads, a person prays. I'll chant in Sanskrit and I'll translate it. Pushanne karsheyam surya praja apatya vyuharashmi sammu uhate joyate e rupam kalya anatamam tatte e pashyami yosavasau purusha sohamasmi. The translation is, Bhushan, O thou who art the nourisher, the solitary traveler, the controller, the acquirer, the son of Prajapati. He is praying to that sun. Do thou remove thy rays, gather up thy dazzle. I shall behold by thy grace that form of thine which is most benign. I am that very reality that is there in the yonder sun. It's not just in the sun, but it's everywhere. I will perceive this reality which is here everywhere. The sun is a kind of a symbol. It's a symbol of this Brahman, the Brahman that's manifested here. The best, you can say, symbol of the manifested universe is the sun. And that's why the sun is being prayed to. All life depends on the sun. So that sun out there and the perception of that sun in my eyes is that which joins us together. So gather up thy dazzle, remove thy rays. I will see that form of thine, the most benign form. It's not praying to the sun there and here. Here it is. Gather up thy dazzle. What happens is that reality is throwing a kind of a shadow on my mind. And I'm asking the sun, gather up the dazzle. Once you gather up the dazzle, the shadow disappears. And I will see the sun as it is. I will see the Atman as it is. That will be liberation. I will be free from this pratibhashika and vyavarika, the appearance as well as the relative. I will see that reality which is beyond all appearance. When you say, why does it appear like this? Why the reality has to be conjoined to this? Once you understand the reality, you'll never say it was ever conjoined. Like here, you see the firebrand world and then you see the circle of light. You know the circle is an illusion. So similarly, I'm saying I see the reality. Everything else is... I generally give the example of the Swami. There was a Swami Ram Tirtha. Swami Ram Tirtha, he had met Swami Vivekananda in Lahore. So he was on his itinerant days. He saw a young mother trying to console a child who's trying to catch that child's shadow, one's own shadow, and is running about here and there, and as it runs towards the shadow is also running there, and the child is so frustrated, and the mother is trying to make it understand. No, you see it, you can't catch it. Then the Swami looks at it and says, "Come here." He calls the child, "Sit." They had a son behind the back. "You can see your shadow?" I say, "Yes." "Do you want to catch it?" "Yes." And he tries to, no, you don't need to run. Stay out here. Stand here. And do exactly what I do. Okay? Yeah. And what the Swami does is, he holds it. And the child also does it. And it's there, you've caught your shadow. And the child is so, you can say, ecstatic. So similarly, we need to catch this illusion. Where? In the heart. There you will catch that reality, and then you've got this illusion. It will no longer delude you. You don't need to run about here and there and this. Then what happens? The world will become so beautiful, because a sharp distinction between the reality and shadow is known. Then you can really enjoy the world. Swami Vivekananda gives an example of the guy, there's an auction going on and he's trying to sell a picture. And the bids are rising higher and higher, and people are all bidding. There's another person who's gone there quietly just to enjoy that picture. He's not bothered about the bids and bothered about anything. The other guys are so engaged with the money, money is rising. Who enjoys the picture more? That person who's just watching. Similarly, we will watch this whole panorama and know that is a reflection of God, that reality. And then we will be free. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.